Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am Sandy, if you're new, the Kentucky Crafter, and today I am going to be working on a snippet. I've never done a snippet before, and so I thought I would give it a try for my Patreon group that I am starting. So let's get going. The steps to make a snippet: it's good to start with a scrap piece of fabric. You can use, you can start with a white linen or a muslin, or you can even just use any sort of fabric for your background. You can also use paper if you wanted to do more of a paper snippet, and you would just cut your paper into strips. There's no real rule on how wide a snippet should be. Excuse me. But typically they're around 3 inches, but you could make them skinnier, you can make them fatter. And when you're cutting fabric, the easiest thing to do is to just start it with some scissors, give it a little snip at the width that you want, like that, and then you just rip it. And you rip it all the way down, and that gives it a nice edge to where you can see the thread showing there. And once you have that torn all the way down, then you're ready to start decorating your snippet. If you're lucky enough to have a bunch of fabric remnants and little pieces, then I would start there. I would go through your stash and pull out, you can, do just random, all kinds of different colors, or if you want to go like I'm doing a fall theme, you can kind of pick colors that go with whatever theme, like say you want all purples, or you want all, the oranges, greens, yellows for fall. So whatever kind of colors you want to use in your snippet, then pull out your little scraps, fabric scraps, and pull from them. If you don't have a bunch of fabric scraps, but you do have fabric, then you can just cut little pieces off of those different pieces of fabric to make your snippet. As you probably noticed from the intro video, I am sitting on the floor in my craft room. I am working on this snippet. It's, I don't know, maybe 5 foot long. So I'm going to give it a try. It might end up being shorter, but I'm going to try. And I've pulled out a bunch of different, more fall-inspired things. Fabrics, laces, trims, things like that. This here is from an old shirt. And this is from an old sweater. And I pulled out some ribbons and then some vintage fabrics and some more ribbons. And then I've pulled out a bunch of, these are ones, resin pieces I got from BB Crafts that I'm going to put on here. And I pulled out some buttons. And this is some faux leather trim. And so I've been playing around with the placement on some of these and just kind of having a little bit of fun. So I will turn the camera on as I glue these items down, and then I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and do some sewing on it as well. And I'm going to do all that before I place the chunkier pieces on there. I also have this rickrack here that I pulled out. So I have some rickrack and some of this lace trim, as well as some of my other lace trims down here. So I will be incorporating those. And here's some of the other vintage fabrics I'm going to be using over here. And I might try to put this on here as well. And these vintage items as well. And then I thought it also might be fun. I have this archival ink in thistle, and so I might stamp a couple areas on this muslin. And this is just some muslin I picked up at either Joann's or Hobby Lobby's. And I actually found it in the clearance aisle. And it's just a really nice cotton that I'm using for the base of the snippet. And then I'm also going to probably use some of these crochet pieces as well. Oops, I just turned everything up. Oh well, you'll see me put it back on. So I'm using this dish towel, and I'm going to be cutting a few of the pieces out to put on here. So here's the first one. And here's the next one. And this is along the trim, so I'm just taking that thread out of there. I think that adds a lot to the piece. As I mentioned, I am making this for my Patreon members. I have 3 different levels, if you're interested. I have goldenrods, cardinal, and then bluegrass. And the bluegrass level will get a monthly package sent out, some Happy Mail. And this is one of the items that will be in there. It is part of this snippet. So I will kind of cut this up and include a section of this in each of my Patreon's Happy Meal that goes out. So you can see for October it's a fall themed. So I also did a video on some guest checks that I turned into pockets. That's one of the other items that'll go into that group. I also, there'll be videos, Patreon only videos in there, and digital download. I have a couple lower tier levels as well, the goldenrod and the cardinal. And the goldenrod, it's really just being a part of the chat community, and you have access to the content, the videos. And then the cardinal is the middle tier, and on that one you also get the same as the goldenrod, but then you get the digital download as well. So I'm just kind of playing around with these, see where I want to put them, and remembering to make room for these pieces as well. So definitely make sure I do that. So I think they'll be so cute. For sure, like the wooden button. I like that. Alright, I am going to just keep on gluing. And I want to remember to add some of these pieces as well. So let me cut some of these. I just love all these colors together. The greens and the rust, and the oranges and the yellows, and these kind of muted reds. And I'm just going to keep going along here. The other thing I did is I stamped out some of these images, and I will add these throughout as well. I have a fox, mushroom, I have this little chipmunk, and there's the fox, and there's the mushroom, and then I have this little bunny, And I have this mushroom. This is one of my favorite stamps. The detail on it is pretty remarkable. And then I have the squirrel. And these are archival ink, so they're waterproof. So I'll add these on here as well as these mushrooms. Okay guys, I'm continuing to make some progress here. As you can see, I've added a few more little details here. This rickrack and the sunflower. I'll zoom in a little bit more. And then I have these mushrooms. And then I added a little more ribbon. So I haven't put these pieces down yet because I want to sew on to them. And I'm down about here. I am going to put a little bit of this ribbon here, or this lace. It's fun kind of using up these pieces. I had to take a break. Sitting on the floor is a little bit uncomfortable for me after a while. So I stopped and had some dinner. And then I am back at it. And then I have this little piece. I like these kind of see-through mesh. I plan to have when I sew, the sewing kind of keep most of this together. Sorry, I have some strings of glue on my fingers. All right, once I've finished up this strip, I'll come back on and give you an overview of it. As promised, I am back to kind of show you the final gluing down of everything, and then I'm going to go and do the sewing. So you can see, and this is a little over 3 feet is what this ended up being. So you can see here. I love how it turned out. And I tried to have a focal point kind of every few inches with the mushrooms or the stamped images being the focal point here. And some mushrooms. Here's a little chipmunk. And the mushroom. Some more mushrooms. And we have a squirrel. And some more mushrooms. And a little chipmunk. I'm going to go sew this stuff on. So I'm going to do kind of some random stitching and sewing. So I will come back and show that to you. But I'm quite pleased with how this turned out. I did some sewing on the snippet roll. Let me show that to you all. So I did a straight stitch all the way down two sides, the top and the bottom. And then I came back through and did some other smaller little stitches, different spots. And then I did the zigzag stitch. Make sure y'all can see that okay. There, that might be a little bit better. So you can see the zigzag stitch. So the intent is to kind of make sure everything is tacked down with the sewing as well as the glue. So I did the zigzag stitch in some different angles here, there, and I used kind of this fall orangey color. And I still need to do, trim up all the loose threads here. And then on a few spots I did the flower or the leaf stitch. And then onto the end. All right, now to add some of the other finishing detail elements. I'm sewing the buttons on next, and I wanted to add a little extra detail, so I'm sewing just a little bit of embroidery thread through the buttons just to kind of make them look a little finished. And so I'm just using, this is a fairly big needle, but it should go through most of the buttons. It may not go through this little one here. But I start from the back and I go through like that, and then I go back down, and then I just tie it off with a double knot in the back. And I actually just go ahead and sew a bunch of buttons in a row, so I don't have to kind of keep threading the needle. And then I just do a double knot on the back and cut off the excess. So like for this one, so you can see the thread right there, and then I just take the next one. Well, that one's already, oh, those are already sewn. But you can see I would just take another one and put it on here, and then I would just tie off each one and snip the yarn. So I am going to glue these on with my Fabri-Tac glue. And there's no real rhyme or reason of where I am putting the buttons. I am just putting them where I think they might look good. Put a good amount of Fabri-Tac there. Now you could actually sew them through this fabric as well to make it a little more secure. So that is another option. I might try that as well. And then just push it down. And then in any other areas where I feel like I need to add a little more glue, I'll do that now as well. And then I'm going to put this one here. And then I'm just going to keep going on down the whole row and sewing the buttons and then adding them on here. Oh, I love how this turned out, y'all. I'm just finishing up gluing these resin pieces on, and I have this last one here that I am going to put on here. Now I'm going to go back through the snippet, and I'm going to see if some of these sequins might look nice on here, and add some bulb pins. I have finished up my snippet, so I have it rolled up here, so I'm going to unroll it and show it to you all. And this, like as I mentioned before, this will be part of my Patreon, the top tier bluegrass. They will get a piece of this snippet for October. So if you haven't gotten a spot yet, I'll leave a link to the Patreon page down below in the description. But let's get started. So I have, make sure I'm zoomed in good enough for you guys. A little bit more. So you can see I've added these embellishment from BB Craft. I've also added a bulb pin and a little charm to that. And these charms, they were actually gold keys. And I used patina to age them up because I didn't want the gold on there. So I patinaed those up. And I plan to do another video on that, show y'all how I did that. And then I have the buttons and the stitching. I really love all of the different fabrics. And as I go, I'm going to unravel this way and I'll roll up this way. But you can see another key here. And then some more of this resin from BB Craft. Here I added some sequins here. And got the mushroom and the squirrel and the zigzag. Here's another bulb pin and the sequins and the resin. Here is the wood button, more resin, and the bulb pin with the key. And then we have sequin. And I really love this little stitching right here on this. And then we have the button here. Here's the key on this one. And a little resin piece. Go. And I love this little button right here. And the key. More of that leaf stitching. And here is the key here. I don't know how it got up there. There we go. The key. And here I did a few more resin or sequins and the pin and the resin. So you can see each little snippet that comes in the Patreon group will have a good variety of, you know, either a mushroom or one of these stamps, a button, all these pretty fabrics, the sunflowers, these vintage fabrics. Love that little fox. And coming down to this end. More resin. I really like that black resin. And then we have this piece here. And then the final little piece here. Well, I hope you enjoyed kind of getting a snippet into my snippet process. See that pun there? Anyway, I really had a lot of fun making this, And I cannot wait to share this with my Patreon members. I'm really excited. All right, I will see you all on the next video. Bye for now. Love ya.